Are you shifting or awakening? Hello, this is JJ DiGeronimo here, and welcome back to Together We Seek. I'm so glad to be here today. Today's episode is solo, just you and me, and honestly, the space opened up for us to be together, and this is exactly what needed to happen today. Because what I want to talk to you about is something that I don't name very often. It's something that I think about, but it's often not something I talk about in the episodes, and that's spiritual awakening, otherwise known as personal awakening. Now, it's not something that you might find on Instagram or something that you see at an event or a curated version of candles and crystals and lights. This is more of something that happens on the inside, something that really makes you kind of pause and ask, why? Why do I keep feeling off or misaligned? Why do old relationships feel not as fulfilling or not as aligned as they used to be? Maybe you're Googling things at 11 p.m. that you're not really ready to talk about yet. I want to say right off the top is there is nothing wrong with where you are. You're not behind, you're not lost, you're not too sensitive, you're not being too emotional. Many people think that this unsettledness is because something outside of us is happening, but actually it's something inside. You might be at the beginning, or maybe it's been happening for a while, but either way, I want to talk about it today. Here's the first thing I want to debunk right now, because I think it costs too much unnecessary suffering. Most of us, including myself for a long time, felt like it should be this beautiful, gently lit candle that emerges through us, something that feels good when it arrives. But in reality, more times than not, it is a crossroads. It feels like everything might be falling apart. It feels like the ground is unsettled underneath you, like a relentlessness you can't logically get your way out of. And oftentimes we just feel off. I remember in 2016 when I shared a piece of this on the podcast before, I had accomplished many things I set my mind to, but I was still asking, am I on the right path? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? That discomfort, that sign that something had gone wrong, that was my first whisper. That relentlessness and questioning the misalignment, that is when my awakening really began. It was not a problem, it was a signal. And I want to hold that as we move through today's conversation because everything shifts when you understand that the discomfort or even major crossroads is not the end, but it's an invitation. So let's get specific here. There are 5 common signs that I want to share that aren't things I made up or things I heard. That actually came from guests here right on the podcast, through the community, and through the retreats. So the number one sign is relentlessness despite outer success. Your life looks good, but maybe something inside is asking you, not more achievements, but more meaning, more alignment, more you. Sign number 2, feeling confused in your own life. You're showing up every day, you're capable, you're competent, you're present, but somewhere along the way, you've lost track of what actually you want, what lights you up, and what is true for you. Sign number 3, sensitivity is increasing. Crowds feel heavier, certain people drain you in ways they didn't before. You're even noticing energy in a room or conversations more accurately, or conversations you don't want to be part of. You're becoming more attuned. Sign number 4, our relationships and environment feel misaligned. Things that used to fit, certain friendships, spaces, the way you spent your time suddenly feel not like they really fit for you. And like maybe you're outgrowing the experience. Sign number 5, a pull towards something you can't name. You find yourself curiously meditating, or maybe you're pulled towards a class or energy work or modality, or even things that you're drawn to go deeper, different than maybe happened 5 years ago. Something is shifting within. If you hear yourself in one of these, or all 5 for that matter, you're not alone. And you're not lost. You're in the early phases of remembering key pieces of who you came to be. When something is disruptive happens in our lives, a diagnosis, a layoff, a divorce, or even that slow creeping feeling that something needs to change, we tend to call it a crisis. A crisis is a heavy word and it implies something went wrong, that you failed something, that you need to fix something fast before it gets worse. But what if we called it a crossroads instead? A crossroads doesn't mean something's broken. A crossroads means you've arrived at a place where you have a choice for a new direction, where the path you've once been on might not be the path you want to take. Maybe you want different energy. When I think about the people I've spoken with on the podcast, the ones who found their gifts through illness, loss, through life that didn't unfold the way they expected. Looking back at their crossroads, yes, at first it seemed worse, but in reality, it gave them an opportunity, despite the difficulty, to move through it. And your crossroad is not a crisis. It is an opportunity, and oftentimes it's exactly what you need right now. So the question for you is, what is this asking me to step into? Now, I know some of you may be thinking, that's interesting, JJ, but when you're in it, it doesn't feel like a calling. Here's a question that has helped me, and I definitely want to offer it to you. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me, which keeps us in a very victim mindset, I would say really take a look at saying, what is this asking me to release? What is this asking me to release? That one shift moves you from a passive to active, from stuck to seeking, from this is happening to me to this is happening for me. What is the situation? What is the feeling? Can I let it go, or can I lean into something that matters to me more? Whatever it is, the releasing is a movement, and the movement is the path forward. I want to speak to you directly to something I see over and over again. High achieving people I know, many of you that listen to the podcast, this fits you. You are so effective in what you're doing. But I feel like sometimes we push so hard for extraordinary outcomes in our career, our reputation, our family, that we almost become comfortable in a performing life. The product results in checking the box. And I only say this because this is exactly what I did. And while you're doing all of that really well, the inner life has become very patient. And it's sending little whispers to you. It's sending small signals for you to say, really, take a look, take a breath, slow down. When my whispers came to me, I was busy. I was pushing through. And then there came a point where I couldn't push through anymore. My body started speaking louder until the whispers became impossible to ignore. And the achievement that was supposed to bring me fulfillment didn't. The more you've accomplished, the louder the whispers eventually get. This is not a punishment for your success. It's an invitation that has been waiting for the right moment, a moment when you are finally ready to listen. And oftentimes before the awakening becomes conscious, before you start Googling or reaching out to me, the body already knows. It may show up as fatigue or anxiety or logic you can't solve, as a physical ailment or symptom that the doctors can't identify, and a heaviness that carries that you can't quite reach the source. The body is always the first messenger. Long before the mind catches up, our body are holding the weight of what isn't aligned. They are signaling, sometimes quietly and sometimes loudly, that something needs to shift. If you've been experiencing unexplained physical symptoms alongside that relentlessness or questioning, I want you to consider that your body may not be broken or ill, it just may be communicating with you. So start here. Get quiet enough to listen. Because the body, when we finally slow down enough to hear it, is one of the most reliable guides we have. Okay, I want you to pause. So I use phases a lot. that's woven through my work, through my podcasts. I want to demystify it for you for a moment because I know that some of you phases of spiritual awakening might make you a little uncomfortable, maybe sounding too woo-woo, too mystical, not quite like you. So let me tell you what I actually mean. Your spiritual gifts are not becoming psychic or channeling or auras or messages, although for some people that might be real and a valid gift for you. Your gifts, the gifts you are here to remember in a specific way, are ways that you move through life, see, feel, connect, and create, and maybe even heal things around you. It's a way you walk into the room and instantly know who needs support, the way you can hold space for someone in pain without flinching, the way that you see patterns that others may miss, the way you create through art, through writing, building, teaching, and the way you move with people. It is likely you've been using these gifts your entire life. You've been calling them something small, just how I am, just something I'm good at, just a habit, just a quirk. The awakening, in part, is the moment you stop minimizing what you carry and start understanding that it's not an accident. It was designed for you, for the people who need exactly what you have. Your gifts are already in use. The work is about naming them. In my new book, Illuminate Your Path, I map out 6 phases of personal awakening, mirroring after the cycles of the moon that I've observed across hundreds of conversations in this podcast and in my community. Soon there'll be a quiz where you can see where you are in your personal awakening. I want to say something with love because I know you, because you often share many of the steps that I do in my journey. You cannot think your way out of this awakening. I say this as someone who's tried hard for years. You can read every book, listen to every podcast, attend every retreat, build the most beautiful morning routine. All of that has value, real value. I wouldn't have this podcast if I didn't believe in the power of these conversations. But the moment, the actual shift that doesn't happen in the mind, it happens in the feelings, in the body, in the releasing, in the trusting, and something you can't fully see or prove. Awakening is experiential. It moves through the body, through the breath, through the moments of stillness when you finally stop trying to figure it out and just allow what's trying to emerge through you. So if you've been consuming this information and still feeling stuck, I want you to hear this. This information has done its job. It's named what you're feeling. Now the invitation is to feel it, move through it. This is the work I've had to do and the work that I'm sharing with you. I've worked on myself and I've worked with many of the Together We Seek guests. But before I let you go, I just want you to know that this is something that you already embrace in the gifts you carry. That is really our job to create space to let these gifts emerge. And when you let your gifts emerge, that is the personal awakening. And many will call a spiritual awakening as you're using gifts that you've carried with you. So before we go, there's just one little thing I want you to do, maybe today or this weekend. I want you to write it down. I want you to sit quietly. I want you to really think about your life right now and what feels most misaligned. Not the thing that most stresses you out, not your loudest problem, but that thing where you get really honest with yourself and you think about what is not quite me, what does not fit with who I am leaning into. If you write it down, you write down the thing that is most misaligned in your life. That's an important part, is to get it down on paper. But I really encourage you not to try to fix it or get rid of it. Just sit with the question, what is this misalignment showing me about what I actually want? So as we leave today, that's just something you can take with you, because awakening doesn't begin with a dramatic decision or a deep leap. It begins with the willingness to be honest about what is no longer true for you. And that honesty, that first act of listening to yourself, is the beginning of everything. As we part ways, I hope you think about trusting the whispers that are coming within and even the breadcrumb and the synchronicities you're seeing. This is all happening for you. So keep going. You are not lost. You are simply moving through the next phase of your awakening. I'll see you here next time. Follow your whispers. They definitely know the way.